ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome the world. Welcome to the next episode of Zebra Spotlight. And I'm honored to interview Noel Roberts, who's joining us all the way from Texas.
Yes, I'm in Texas this morning. Thank you so much. A pleasure is all mine. Happy to be here and happy to have a chat.
Now, most of you may have seen Noel on the Netflix show Million Dollar Beach House. Noel, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
My pleasure. Glad to be here and have this chat with you.
Now, I'd love for you to introduce yourself because having looked at your resume, you've got lots of fingers and lots of pies. So I'll let you introduce yourself in the way that the audience can connect with best.
Introducing myself, a bit of a tough ask. Like you said, I've got a weird resume and a weird backdrop. I think if I was going to answer what do I do? I like to think I just solve problems. And those problems have kind of shifted and changed depending on what year and what phase of my career that I'm at. Most recently, as it relates to real estate, I'm solving real estate problems. If it's for a homeowner, it's can you sell my house? If it's for a buyer, I'm looking to buy XYZ. If it's for a developer, it might be I'm looking to purchase this plot of land here. I'm looking to build and sell something. Can you help put together a prospectus or a presentation, real investment grade that I can go take to Wall Street or take to a buddy of mine who's a financier? So I solve problems, mostly real estate problems, as of late in the past few years, and excited about the future.
Obviously, a lot of your career has been based around real estate, and I know you've worked at some of the biggest real estate brokers in North America. So, how did you get into real estate in the first place? What's your sort of background? Was it academic? How did you end up doing this?
Yeah, so a bit of an unorthodox path. So I'm 32 now, so been adjacent to around real estate for quite some time. I didn't go to university or college. So right out of high school, decided to start a real estate company with the goal of buying and selling, fixing and flipping homes. I was 17, I think, when I was first introduced to real estate through like a seminar, one of those kind of get rich quick seminars where they're flashing up photos of their lifestyle and hey, you too can be a successful real estate investor. It was one of those, but still caught some type of bug. I went out and decided, first things first, if I'm going to flip homes, I need to find motivated sellers. And so built a website platform called mycashoffer.net where kind of homeowners could punch in their address and I'd fire back a cash offer within 24 hours oftentimes. Was underwriting, taught myself how to underwrite those deals. And you do enough of those things, you start to kind of get a clear picture of what is a good deal, what isn't a good deal. Found a bunch of investors willing to kind of partner and fund good deals. And that also kind of helps the learning curve of like, hey, what do investors have an appetite for? Was really good at sort of guerrilla marketing, had a bunch of billboards around town that said, sell your house in 9 days, called 208 sell. City, I don't think was a big fan of all the signs that were plastered on telephone poles, etc. We got a couple calls from city ordinances and things of that nature. But that was my first kind of foray and entry. I was 18, 19, 20 doing that, did a handful of deals, lost money, made a little bit of money, but it was a good kind of foray into the world of real estate. And I don't really think I've looked back since.
That's very interesting. So, as a late teen, you were there hustling in the streets right from the beginning.
Oh yeah, literally late at night because we would go hang out signs and those kind of marketing things unless it was like midnight because you were pulling over and hanging up signs and things of that nature. But really good at building systems and lists of investors and homeowners. Just really built that muscle. So I never really set out to be an agent or a broker. I wanted to be the man and part of the deal and a principal in the deal and buying and selling. And so that was my entryway. I was sort of late teens, early 20s.
Interesting, comparing the US to the UK. I know in the US you have to get a real estate license. So how difficult is it to actually get one of those? What's the process?
It's very simple. There's a very low barrier to entry here in the States to get a real estate license. There are actually far too many agents just simply because of that low barrier to entry. You take a 75-hour pre-license course, and you take, your course exam, then you take a state exam, and then you have your license, but you then need to find a broker company to essentially hang your license. So I didn't get my license until I was 25. That was maybe 2016 about. So still a ways between then. Got involved in a couple other businesses. I went to Brazil when I was 21. I thought I was going to be a big land developer in the south of Brazil. So I had a brief stint there. But, if you're kind of doing the deals yourself and you figured out a mechanism to find and source those deals yourself, like I had, you sort of can, you need an agent to either bring you great deals, or if you can find the deals yourself, you can find the deals yourself. So I didn't quite need to go the brokerage route just yet.
Oh, it's interesting when you went there at a time. I mean, places like Hamptons and Nest Seekers, and you've got all these huge corporations, the big firms doing real estate, and here you come along, putting these signs anywhere and everywhere, trying to hustle. How, I mean, must have been really challenging in that time.
Oh, so let me say this. So I grew up in Minnesota. So all of this was just in the Midwest. I didn't move to New York until I was maybe 23, 24. So still some years ahead. So very good. I guess you just sort of have to have a skill set of how do you enter in a market? How do you start from scratch, zero, build a book of business, gain some traction that way. So kind of a different route that I took when I first entered New York, but this was just sort of the fix and flip and stuff was just sort of when I was just getting started.
Now, before we go into the real nitty-gritty of real estate, interestingly, when I looked on your LinkedIn profile, I noticed that you were the co-owner of Faith Home Care. And I read a little bit about the company. Now, being a physician who's involved in community care, I was really intrigued as how you got involved with that and why.
Yeah, so I had a very interesting upbringing. My mother, who's my hero, never went to, I don't know if she even made it to high school, but went back to school in her late 30s, early 40s, became a nurse, LPN, started working in assisted living facilities, and then decided she wanted to start her own. She started first with adult foster care. So as a middle schooler, we had a number of elderly folks come to live with us in our house. And she kind of came to us first and said, hey, look, this is what I want to do. Or is the family okay with this? And so I was in middle school and said, yeah, we support you. You can start this business. But it started first in our house. So I grew up with 5 or 6 grandparents just sort of living
Wow.
in our house. And the business grew. She was able to get some other side facilities, care homes, residential homes that she converted to these care facilities, dealing with Alzheimer's, dementia. And then I went off, did my real estate thing. I mentioned to you, I went to Brazil when I was 21. So I spent some time in Brazil. She decided, we had a lot of conversations during those times. She was just sort of running this business by herself. A number of conversations to me saying, look, I would love some help in this business. Elder care wasn't ever a sexy business to me. I wanted to be a real estate guy and an investor, but she sort of convinced me that there's a real estate component to senior housing. And I sort of went back to Minnesota, and that's sort of when I got involved in the business. I took over, became part owner, did a lot of the operational side of things. And I just got really deep into the business at that point. So I was doing all the hiring for the nursing assistants and the nurses, spending a lot of time with the residents, fell in love with our residents, and just seeing the level of care. People would sort of come to us on hospice, and they would still be around 2 years later just because of great food, great environment, and just the nurturing and care that I saw my mom kind of provide to these residences. So ran that business for a couple of years till I was maybe 23. And then we decided she wanted to be semi-retired. So we liquidated that business. And that's what led me to move to New York when I was in my early 20s. I thought, okay, how I wanted to grow the business at the time when I took over was through acquisitions. You can either grow it organically, slowly, or you could just buy competitors. And so I was really started to get into M&A at that point. So when we liquidated the business, I thought I'd go to New York and I'd continue in the assisted living industry. And that's sort of when I met some builders who built homes out in the Hamptons. I was just doing some networking in Manhattan. And I'd never even heard of the Hamptons, to be quite honest. They said, we're builders. I said, where? They said the Hamptons. I quickly Googled the Hamptons and saw there were some nice luxury homes, and sort of gravitated to these guys at this party or networking event. And so I followed up and just sort of became maybe the little brother to them that they didn't think they needed. Tried to figure out what do you guys want? What do you guys need? I told them I raised money. I don't think they really could believe me at the time, but went on and raised them a bunch of money. And that's sort of what pulled me into sort of the Hamptons real estate market.
Incredible. It's funny when you said about not knowing about the Hamptons. I'd never heard of it until I watched the show Revenge. I
Okay.
saw all these people living in the Hamptons. I thought, wow, this is a really nice place to live.
It's one of those, if you know, you know, but
Yeah.
kind of around that time, 2014, 2015, either you just knew of it, but then it started becoming, popping up on TV shows, I would say in the mid-teens, and people became more internationally kind of familiar
Mhm.
with it.
Now, tell us about your move to Nest Seekers International. Of course, most people would have heard of this from Million Dollar Listings, and Ryan Serhant obviously became famous because of this.
Mhm.
So you moved to them, and then you recruited to the show. Tell us all about that.
Yeah. So again, how it all happens is a bit peculiar. So I had been living out in the Hamptons, 2015, I think I went out there, 2016 full time. I saw how much money agents were making. I had just did a big deal. I was part of a development group. These guys, we had acquired, there was this deal I found, $8 million acquisition. We were building 3 waterfront homes. I decided I'd go out and get my license simply because the agent that represented us on that purchase, it was like a $400,000 commission. But I found the deal myself. I roped my guys in. I found the acquisition and construction financing. I basically helped put this deal together. And I was a kind of a partner in the deal. But I realized had I had my real estate license, we could have split that $400,000 commission. So when I saw that in 2015-ish, I kind of ran out and got my real estate license. This was still 3 or 4 years before the whole Nest
Hmm.
Seekers and Netflix thing.
Hmm.
And so I was primarily consulting for a lot of developers, and contractors. I'd walk into the office. I hung my license at a very small boutique firm. It was me and another guy, and that guy was involved mostly in mortgage brokerage. So I was really the only agent, and just doing this kind of under the radar consulting. I had an attorney who I helped find a deal, or I'd help represent a few different things off market from friends and things of that nature. But I wasn't an agent, if you will. Certainly not full time. But in 2019, I got an email sort of out of the blue. This is when we filmed the first season of the show, and the email was sort of from a producer who said, "Hey, I came through one of your open houses last summer. On our way to the beach. You probably don't recognize me, but I'm a producer. We're filming the show. We think you'd be a good fit for it. Are you willing to kind of grab coffee and talk about it?" And so I certainly remember doing a ton of open houses. I had this off-market house, a block off the ocean, is maybe 9.25, $9.5 million listing.
Wow.
It was sort of a quiet deal, but I was stopping a lot of traffic on their way to the beach. So I certainly remember hundreds of people coming through that little open house. I don't quite remember him, but I met with him and they pitched me this idea. We're doing this show. I said, "Well, who else is in it? What's the style? What are you guys going for? And why me?" And we just sort of kept talking. At that point, I was obviously familiar with Nest Seekers. I'd been in the Hamptons. I had decided to remain just sort of a small boutique. And so I realized that, Nest Seekers was sort of also kind of behind the co-production of it. And so being and joining the brokerage was sort of also a part of the deal. I thought, great opportunity, a way for me to kind of, and I was somewhat hesitant actually,
Hmm.
there are some people who really throw their headshots into casting departments and their whole aim in life is to get. I'm really not that type of person. I'd sort of had a nice quiet life and I kind of liked and enjoyed the ability to maneuver kind of in the shadows a bit and sort of, but I have a twin and that twin was living in South Korea and was an actor and a model and a TV personality and well known. Again, started from the bottom and worked his way up to Korean entertainment, but he had never been on Netflix, and we were very competitive. And so I thought, Joel's never been on Netflix before. Yeah, I'll do the show. So there was a little bit of that competitive aspect to it and sort of crossing over into his world. And so we decided to do it. It's 2023 now, and we filmed that one season. That's 4 years. So quite some
Wow.
time.
Wow.
When you see and watch what you're seeing,
Hmm.
it was a while ago. And so, uh, you know, definitely a unique experience to say the least.
I love watching these real estate shows. They used to be more about the real estate. Obviously, things have changed a lot more, and it's all about the handbags and the high heels. So
Yeah.
when I first watched this show, I think it was refreshing to see something that was much more focused towards real estate, exploring the Hamptons. You know, this is new territory.
Mhm.
And I have to say, on the show, I've got to say this in front of everyone. I think you're probably one of the most dapper, probably one of the most stylish guys I've seen on any of these shows on Netflix. And I just saw this and I thought, um, this guy's too cool for this show. I thought, and I wondered, did you have any broadcast experience before? Did you have to have any, uh, um, I don't know, training to be on that show? Were you told to act a certain way? I mean, is this just
So
you?
the short answer is no, in terms of training and et cetera. I think some people, either the lights and camera, they're either built for like the moment and really get under pressure, or they're not. They can really kind of buckle under that. And so I don't know, when things turn on, I kind of turn on as well. There was no direction. That was probably the problem. Actually, there's some direction. Right? They might say, hey, look, here's a scene, here's kind of the overarching, here's what we're going on. But they really kind of say, look, we're just a fly on the wall. And you, after a while, just begin to forget
Hmm.
that they're there. They call it the fourth wall, or I don't know what they refer to. Basically, you're not allowed to break that wall. You don't really try to stop what's going on, which is a bit of a plus and a negative. There are certainly some scenes and things happening, and you sort of begin to feel, this is the problem that I felt. I sort of felt like I was sort of at the whims of some other direction that was going on here. And so there is a plan. It's just sometimes we as the cast don't know what the plan is. It's sort of in
Hmm. Hmm.
the production's
Hmm.
mindset. And so some of the tension that you saw play out was simply a kind of behind the scenes disagreement, I suppose, in some of the
Hmm.
directions that
Hmm.
were sort of being taken.
Yeah, I guess we all need a bit of drama. Otherwise, sometimes reality is a bit mundane. So you need a little bit of spice to keep viewers entertained.
I felt it was probably a little bit too much. I think when they first
Uh-huh.
pitched it, they said, "No, no drama. This isn't going to be like Real Housewives. It's going to be very sophisticated. It's going to be Billions, another show I think on HBO for real estate." But I think once the execs flew out and they kind of met us briefly, kind of observed things. I think they saw that there were some personalities here. So I think at that point, maybe a third into filming, the show started to more revolve around personal and dynamics and interpersonal relationships.
As I said, it's very, very entertaining to watch, and I'm glad it focused comparative to some of the other shows much more on the real estate, and it brought it back to that whole $1 million style. That pink jacket, by the way, was that's a showstopper.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So yeah, now
Um,
going in a deeper dive onto your role on the show, um, tell
yeah,
us.
I'll give you a little bit of behind the scenes. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of the real estate shows are great because they shine a lot of light and attention. You know, a lot of young new agents, people who see the show, it inspires them to go out and get their license, and they'll DM you and say, look, I'm going out to get my license, give me advice, give me tips, etc. So it's good for that, but it also kind of creates sometimes a perception of the business that isn't really accurate. You know, real agents are, it's tough because on one hand, I want to say we're not always on yachts schmoozing clients, but I am. If you're new, you are not always on yachts schmoozing clients. You really have to, that takes years, and some people never, they just don't live that thing. I did make a specific effort because I personally never set out to be an agent. And I sort of backed into it because it's like, wow, this is I'm good with financial stuff. I can put together a pro forma and the investment background. I noticed some clients really like that aspect of it. So let me just bring that to the business and bring
Mhm.
that to the industry. And if I'm going to be an agent, I want to be the coolest agent possible. I want to be the 007 of agents. And so, you know, my lifestyle was really working with high net worth folks, family office type folks would fly into Long Island. I'd pick them up in a black car. This person say represents this, represents a billionaire. I'd pick them up in a black car, I'd drive them, show them 3 off-market estates and take them back to the airport. And, I'm signing non-disclosure agreements. I'm oftentimes in super luxury homes where there's an affluent or super successful individual who doesn't want the world to know that they're exploring a sale. I decided that's the type of agent that I want to be. If I'm going to be an agent, let me be the 007 of agents. And so behind the scenes with that listing on the show, I'm sort of known for having this $35 million listing, and I'm sort of the agent who's not being sophisticated in how they're crunching their numbers. When in reality, it's the complete opposite. I'm super, super conservative. What happened there was that client wasn't trying to sell their home. They were a client who I was representing them. They actually wanted to buy their neighbor's house off market. So I'm helping them off market, behind the scenes, help them acquire the neighboring property because they wanted double the lot space, and they didn't quite get the size home that they wanted when they initially built that big modern house on the ocean. And we're trying to figure out, okay, what do we do with this nice, gorgeous house? Or we should create some story around it and include it into the show. I wanted it to be a really authentic show. Here's a family. They love this house on the ocean. They were actually renting a house there for several years, tore that house down to build this nice, gorgeous modern house. So the story was supposed to be around the motivations. Why would you spend a bunch of money to tear a house down on the ocean? Production had a different plan. They sort of wanted other cast members to get screen time. And so how do you get screen time? You have them bring a buyer, quote unquote, to the house. You're doing the shore. So there was a lot of contention behind the scenes. And it's like I'm being dragged into film certain scenes where I'm not even showing this house to sell it. I don't know the ins and outs of this house. I'm actually representing them to buy something else. And so it sort of cast a little bit of a label on me. And then once you film something and you film another scene that references the last scene, and you film another scene that references the scene that you sort of have to keep going with the story and the arc of the story. And it kind of put me in a position where I now have to.
You're stereotyped as like, yeah, he's the troublemaker, and we can't read him, and we don't know what he's going to do next. And
yeah, it couldn't be further from the truth. I think the show was lacking sort of the protagonist antagonist type of good guy bad guy, and I guess I just sort of drew the short end of the stick, and I said, "Oh, apparently I'm the bad guy now." So I'll play that role, but it was really authentic. We were really grumpy, but I don't think my grumpiness was geared towards any of the cast. I think it was really towards production, who was sort of taking things in a route that I didn't really want them to take it in.
And following something like that, for a show like that, obviously you guys spend so much time filming. Would it be naive to suggest that? Do you guys stay in touch? Sort of.
It's been a little bit of a while. So I decided to step back. Cast members decided they would kind of keep going. So there was sort of a big of a snafu. COVID hit, like season 1 launch, COVID hit, production and filming stopped everywhere. We were coming up to another season, a selling season, summer in the Hamptons.
Right.
The team who, production and everybody who negotiates these things were sort of kind of going back and forth with Netflix saying, hey, look, we can't miss filming another, summer season. You guys, are we going to greenlight this or not? If not, we're going to take this across the street to Discovery Channel. And so they did, and Discovery, I believe it was Discovery, picked it up. They sort of rang me and said, hey, look, are you ready to go? And I said, nah, I'm sort of Netflix or not. And if it's not going to be Netflix, I'll just sort of hang back. Maybe I'll make an appearance. But the cast kind of went on. They went to do their own thing. I pulled back, started doing my events, private events, started exploring. I've always sort of been consulting for a number of developers. So I've sort of always had my things on the side that kind of sustained me by sort of living a great life before TV. So TV is not necessarily something that I need. And so at some point I would love to go back and perhaps tell my side of the story, but I can't do TV unless it's my show, unless I'm writing it and I'm sort of
course
directing where things are going. Otherwise I'm just sort of a leaf in the wind.
I wouldn't expect anything less having heard your story.
Yeah. No, I think there's enough there for me to sort of hold my own and
Mhm,
pull in
mhm.
some other supporting cast mates and sort of have my own thing going.
And I think I'd love that. I'd love for you, like a show on Beyond Oceans, or just snippets of what you get up to. I think having a spin-off show with what you get up to, and particularly developments, um, I'd be really excited. So Netflix, come on.
Yeah, there was sort of there's a level of nuance and sophistication and creativity and crazy homes and stuff that is entertaining enough where you don't necessarily need some of the other cattier stuff. And so again, I'd love to at some point bring my idea of a really sophisticated and captivating type of a show with gorgeous homes as a backdrop. I'd love to bring that to the screen someday.
We really look forward to it. Now, the interesting when I saw your resume, you were head of private client. Now, in my very simple mind, I thought surely everyone's a private client, and then I was thinking, hold on, there's more private clients than private clients. So, what does that mean in your world?
Yeah, this was maybe 2019, 2020. I was I was never that transactional in terms of some agents are just sort of pitching. It's their pitch. And let me list your house, and they sort of move on to the next pitch. I'm much more like sit down and have like a relationship. And I started getting in some of these other ancillary services, and whether it's on demand delivery that kind of popped up during COVID, people getting things delivered to their home, and sort of I was offering these other services. I was also doing yacht charters. I had friends who owned a yacht and who also chartered yachts. So I said, okay, how do we add that? I have a relationship with a private jet charter company. Okay, so how do we add jet charters to some of our clients who might want to get from Miami to the Hamptons or from here to here? Like, how do we combine all of these different services and not just be about real estate? And so private client to me was just sort of above and beyond the level of normal service that you could expect. I like to, again, if somebody comes to me and they have a need, I want to be able to figure out how to solve that problem or know somebody else who can solve that problem. Why not sort of be a one-stop shop for a client who trusts you for their biggest asset, and surely enough, they can trust you for, all right, I need to charter a yacht this weekend, or I'm trying to get from here to here at this date. Can you figure out how to arrange the flight? So that's sort of what I kind of added to, at least to my own personal brand in real
Mhm.
estate business.
Again, very entrepreneurial and diversifying. It's very interesting what you can add to your portfolio. Um, and since leaving Nest Seekers, I mean, you've hinted to some of the things that you've done, but what have you been up to since then?
In the past, so in 2021, I began doing some events called Beyond Oceans. I had, again, a yacht partner and a good friend. I'd been to some of their parties and events. They'd thrown something that was just, it was a Roaring Twenties thing. It was on a yacht. Just, they really knew how to put together these really nice curated experiences. I wanted to kind of foray into sort of putting together some of my own events. So came up with the concept for Beyond Oceans, the idea being that oceans may separate us, but they also bring us together. That's sort of a big thing that we do out in the Hamptons. Every time the sun sets, we all meet at the ocean, and it's just sort of a nice thing that we
Wow.
do every day. So that was sort of the idea behind Beyond Oceans. Curated experiences, gather a bunch of influential guests, clients, past clients. Like, I really want you to show up to an event and have a developer or builder meet an art gallery owner, or a musician get to mingle with somebody who owns this boutique hotel in town. Just sort of walk away feeling like, okay, normally wouldn't meet these people in my day-to-day, week-to-week, but it was a really great time. Bring in a private chef, bring in sort of a musician. And so started running these events in a few years ago now, did a couple in the Hamptons, and I would host them either at a really nice boutique hotel once. I did one at an off-market home listing that I would have. And the idea being, okay, throw a nice party at a house and peel away potential buyers and zip them around on golf carts to sort of show them the estate. So I was doing some of that. About a year ago, I decided I had some institutional investors basically throw me some money and back me to explore starting technology, a real estate technology startup, just basically betting on me as a jockey, take my time, figure out how to add tech to either streamline the management process, the brokerage process, the transactional process. Basically, here's some money, go figure it out. So for the past year, we're still somewhat in stealth. We've been building. I have a co-founder who was at Zillow for a number of years. We've been slowly building in stealth some real estate solutions, providing, in short, we're providing intelligence to off-market homeowners who are sort of sitting out, waiting out the market in sort of a tumultuous real estate climate. There's still value that we can provide all of these consumers. And so we've been building tools and technology around the home valuation, around the market dynamics and research, and sort of taking what I was doing at Private Client and how do we automate 95% of what an agent might be able to do for a homeowner, whether it's, hey, what's my house worth? What's going on in the market? How do you take me and essentially, instead of helping 10 consumers, how do we now help 100 or 200 consumers with limited bandwidth?
It's incredible. And obviously with AI ever evolving, I guess that there's just so much you can explore and so much you can offer.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot with machine learning and AI. I think a lot of it will be a little bit gimmicky in the next few years. Obviously, chatbots are super popular, but I feel the best place to be is somewhat a bit of a hybrid in between. So there's still some consumers who really like the white glove. They want to just get on the phone. I don't want to play around on the internet and the computer. Just hop on the phone, shoot me a text. Let's talk about what's going on, or this problem that I have, or what your opinion is. But then you also have the other consumer who's very sophisticated, who they feel like they can sell their house better than any agent, and they can also find a property, if they're a buyer, better than any agent, whether they're a Wall Street type, their numbers, they're super analytical. So the best place to be is sort of a hybrid between do-it-yourself and full-service brokerage. And how do we allow the consumer who's super savvy and even tech savvy themselves, who's checking the market every day themselves, to be able to get an advisor, someone skilled on demand on a call when they need to.
That sounds incredible. And I think, judging by what you've been doing since the late teens, I think it's just going to be very, very successful. And I think that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, in a few months, I'll be able to make hopefully some big announcements about what I've been working on.
Wow, we look forward to hearing that. Coming back to real estate, as you know, I am in the business of selling high-end audiovisual systems, and when I watch a lot of these shows, the agent will often present a beautiful living room and an amazing kitchen and so many bathrooms, and they'll talk about the Italian floor tiles and the marble and the bespoke cabinetry and all the appliances. And then often when they show the theater room, I'll pause it and I'll think, yeah, for a 15, 20, $30 million mansion, that's a really substandard theater.
Yeah.
And I'm yet to find something extraordinary. The only one I actually liked, I think, was number 1 Bel Air.
Yeah.
That's a nice theater. The rest of them, I've always thought, who on earth designed that? And it just, irritates me that the homeowner was either shortchanged or someone just didn't know what they were doing, and no one really cares. In luxury real estate, is it important? Do these things add value? Do clients want these things as a prerequisite for luxury living? What's your opinion?
There seems to be phases and fads that kind of run their course, if you will, especially if I'm thinking about the Hamptons in particular. You might have, from the spec home builders, sort of phases in terms of style. So these sort of modern barns were big for a while. And that was maybe mid-teens, late teens. And COVID happened, and sort of space became the thing, and outdoor living, and it's become a little bit more popular. It's so crucial, and it's such an important aspect that you mentioned, that when you say it like that, I do think about how much builders tend to skimp on the entertainment spaces. They invest all the money into maybe the kitchens, the bathrooms, do something nice with the landscaping here or there. But I think in terms of cool factor, I think it's, the houses in Bel Air, yes, the 30, 40, $50 million spec homes, they do tend, okay, let's put a little bit more into that. But there's so much more room for the 3 to 5 million, even the 2.5 to 5 million dollar home, where, there should be more emphasis on, say, the home theater and the audios and the visual components to that. You're starting to see it a little bit more, at least, bare minimum, you need speakers out in the backyard around the pool system. But there are some companies, that are doing more to integrate that, to place a better emphasis on the importance of that stuff as just a selling feature. So I think there's a lot more that can be improved, especially for that tier of homes that are saying that $2, $3, $4, $5 million market. When you get up there, yeah, they start to kind of, make sure that it's a part of the deal. But I don't know what it is with builders. Maybe it's just that extra room. They tend to sort of, they'll do the lower level, they have the gym. Like that's sort of the thing that they, gotta have the gym, or at least a space for the gym. They might do a nice little rubber flooring there. But the theater tends to kind of get skipped over after the exercise and, the landscaping and all that kind of stuff. But there's plenty of room for it.
I'm glad you agree. Now, I've got to say, I watched one of your videos earlier on this evening, and to me, it was like a classic Calvin Klein advert where you're in black and white, and it's a day in your life, and running along the beach and introducing a client to a home, having got off a private jet. I know some of that is probably to show a certain side of lifestyle, but I know you work incredibly hard. But assuming when you do get some downtime, if you get some downtime, I'd be really intrigued to know what sort of music you like, what TV shows you like. Are you into movies? I want to know a little bit about what Noel likes to do when he chills out.
In terms of music taste, it's sort of very weird and maybe eclectic. Classical music, Preisner, or I might be listening to some rock and roll. I might listen to Oasis or Kings of Leon, or I might have some Kanye West on if I'm in a little bit more of a hip hop mood. But these days, as of late, I like old school stuff. I even like just instrumental stuff where there's no like actual lyrics. Fall asleep every night to like just keys, piano stuff. Movies, yeah, favorite films, There Will Be Blood. I tend to rewatch the same movies over and over again.
Daniel Day-Lewis, I believe.
Favorite actor. So I've seen that movie probably about 40, 50 times now.
Wow, gosh. Okay.
And then again, shows, Peaky Blinders. I'll just rewatch the same thing over and over again. So that kind of give you a little bit of a taste of kind of films and music that I'm into.
Very interesting. So you probably, so Peaky Blinders is based in around the Midlands, which is pretty much where I'm based. And it's grey and it's rainy and it's gritty, and I'm watching shows that you're in because I love the sunshine and the real estate.
No, give me dark, give me gritty, give me sort of that sort of world. But yeah, it's great to sort of share a little bit more. I mean, people sort of might see you or come to know of you from maybe a show or etc. But it's usually people tend to be the opposite. Having gone through that experience myself, you might see someone who's a little bit boisterous. In real life, they're pretty chill and pretty relaxed. You might see somebody very relaxed on TV. In real life, they're obnoxious type folks. And so people have, I still get DMs all the time from people who are either fans or they hate me. And for the haters, it's, I've met people and they meet me in real life, and 20-minute conversation, they realize, oh, I have complete wrong impression of you, etc. So when you strip away kind of the drama and the reality TV aspect of it all, we're all very like cordial and nice, and just like I like to think I'm a down-to-earth kind of a person.
I think you come across as that on screen as well, and I think if anyone follows your socials, I love the fact of bringing these people together and having really classy experiences, and yeah, you're a real gentleman. And I just think you bring that touch of elegance and class to everything that you're doing, and it's so refreshing, particularly in nowadays where so much stuff that's just crass. You just bring that bit of you know let's be a gentleman and show people how to live like gentle folk again.
Yeah, there's a lot of turmoil in the world. Let's just all treat each other with, a little bit of kindness and respect and
100%,
decency, and just sort of keep it classy. I think that's
100%.
what life should be about.
And talking about pianos, there's a great on your socials. There's a great clip of you improvising, and I believe
Yes.
you playing with one hand.
Yeah, I was doing something with one hand. Yeah.
Oh, it's impressive.
Yeah, it's the one kind of riff that I like to play around with. I grew up
Okay.
playing piano, didn't study much, but I like to mess around now if there's ever a piano nearby.
Very impressive. I think if there's a Steinway and Son showroom near you, I think you should invite Noel and come and have a go.
Absolutely.
Um, Noel, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and I'm hoping the audience get to see another side of you compared to what they saw on the show. Um, and in fact, for people watching this in the UK, you've got some roots associated with London, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, my father born in I don't know where he was born, but he grew up in Luton. And so lived there until his mid-teens, maybe 14, 15, then went back to Jamaica, where he kind of grew up, and then emigrated back to the United States, where I was born. My twin and I were born in Washington, D.C. So
So there
American
you
through
go.
and through. Yeah.
Have you been to the United Kingdom?
I have not. My brother has. I have not made the trek to the UK just yet. I've got family there. I've got another brother older brother who lives there, and I've got cousins and some extended family. But hopefully in 2024, I'll make the trek
Fantastic.
to the UK. I think
Fantastic.
some of the things that I'm working on the real estate tech front, there's some international appeal there. And so we've been looking at the UK market as a potential, maybe not launching pad, but sort of a next step for us. We think the UK market could be a big
Fantastic.
market from a tech standpoint.
Well, Knight Frank, watch out for Noel. He's on his way.
Absolutely.
And when you visit the UK, it'd be an honor to host you. And I've got a couple of surprises for you that I think you'd enjoy. So we very much look forward to your visit. And we wish you all the best of luck in your endeavors and your business affairs. And we look forward to seeing what you get up to next.
Thank you so much. It was a great chat, and look forward to sitting down with you when I'm in the UK next.
Take care. Bye bye.
All right. Cheers.